All right, leader shares for 15 to 20 minutes. My name is Patrick and I am an alcoholic. I got sober through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and a power much greater than myself. Congratulations, 60 days, that's awesome. 6 months, congratulations. David, 9 months, awesome. And Joey, happy fucking birthday.
Happy birthday.
So my story is pretty simple. I started drinking really early. It was a lot of fun. Then it was fun with some problems, and then it was just problems, and that, you know, that's pretty much the story, right? You know, I met my hostage in high school. I took her hostage a few years later, and we've been living this hostage relationship for 33 years. So she's seen the good, bad, and knows the ugly, and knows where the bodies are buried. So if anybody wants the true story, ask her. She would be glad to regale you in some of that gory detail. So I came into Alcoholics Anonymous on September 23rd of 2012. It was a Monday night. And I got sober at the Pasadena home group of Alcoholics Anonymous. That was my first AA meeting that I went to. The weekend before was my high school 30th reunion. It started at the Langham on Friday night and ended sometime Sunday at the boat. The boat was my last drunk. The boat, if you're not familiar with it, is Claremont Village, down on the corner of Rosemead and Huntington. It was that Sunday, so that whole weekend was a blur. Let's just put it that way. There was lots of things that went on, and you know, it was just a blur. And I ended up in the boat about 1 o'clock after my son's soccer game, and I had the DT so bad I was shaking like a leaf on a tree, and you know, it was just ugly. And my wife said, "I'm going to get something to eat," and my son said he wanted something to eat, and I went straight to the bar. And I ordered 2 big schooners of beer. It was the opening weekend of the NFL, and the place was packed, and everybody was wearing their favorite team colors. And the bartender served the 2 schooners of beer, and I went to pick them up, and I was shaking so bad I was sloshing them all over the bar. And I put them back down on the bar, and I asked him for a tray, because I figured I could kind of balance a tray.
That would work.
And you know, kind of dissipate the slosh, right, and it'd all be contained, and then just pour whatever the tray was, whatever was on the tray back into the glass, right? So I wouldn't waste a whole lot. And I knew that I had a problem way before that. You know, we read through here, it says switching from this to that, doing this and that, not doing this, saying I won't do that, promising myself this, promising myself that, and I broke all of those things, right? I broke every single one of those things, right? I won't drink at work, I won't drink before Friday, I won't, you know, I'm only gonna drink beer, right? You can only do that for so long until you just get bloated and go, God damn it, give me something else, right? So that's, you know, that's the alcoholic story. It was just problems, right? It was just, and I couldn't control it, right? So I came into Alcoholics Anonymous. They said, get a big book, get a sponsor. If you don't have a big book, see us at the break. I went up to them at the break, and they sold me a big book for $8 or $10 or whatever the fuck it was. And I went to the second meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous the next day, and they were giving them out for free to the newcomers, and I was like, I got ripped off by that.
First resentment.
First resentment, right? Right away. First resentment, right out of the gate. Second resentment was I asked 3 guys to sponsor me, and they all said no. I was like, fuck this thing, right? How am I supposed to, you tell me to get a sponsor, I ask these guys, and they don't sponsor me. Ends up I got a sponsor. He was a gay guy. He was super nice, super cool, and he said, are you ready to change everything? And I said, well, define that. And he goes, are you ready to change everything? Are you willing to change everything? And I said, at that point, I said, yes, I'm willing to change everything. He said, okay, well, you don't have to change that. And I said, okay, thanks. And we went through the steps, right? And he said, there are 12 steps and there are 12 months, and we will do 12 steps in 12 months. and we went through them. We didn't go through them rapid fire, but we went through them quickly enough. And at the end of that 12-month time, he fired me. On my birthday, he fired me. When I turned 1 year sober, he fired me. And he said, go find somebody that has what you want and let them teach you how to live the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was hurt. I didn't know what that meant at the time. I was like, what was that about, right? I thought he was my sponsor, right? I had already confided all this stuff in him, right? All the stuff that I was going to take to the grave with me in my 4th step, right? But he actually did me the biggest favor, that he could have, right? Because I found a sponsor who was caring, who was loving, who was kind, who I identified with, who guided me through life's challenges as I progressed in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I went back through the steps with him. And he told me at one point, he said, quit doing a 4th and 5th step. You've already done it twice. You don't have to continue to rehash it over and over again. Let it go. Those are some of the kindest words that another human being can tell you, is that you don't have to hang on to this shit forever, right? Just do it once or twice and let it go, right? If you leave something out, that's a great reason to do it twice, right? And he's also said more will be revealed, right? So I went through the steps, right? Number 1, I can't do it on my own, right? Number 2, it's going to restore me to sanity. Yeah, I had to admit that I was insane. That was the easy part. Believing that it would restore me to sanity was the hard part, because I didn't know what sanity was, right? Number 3 was finding that higher power and accepting that and making a decision to turn my will and my life over to that higher power as I understood it. And I did that. I made that decision, right? And I do that every day, right? I make that decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of a higher power as I understand it, right? Now that doesn't mean that higher power is the same every day, right? My higher power morphs all the time, right? And my higher power is something that looks out for me when I'm going through whatever I'm going through on that day, right? So my higher power may look like one thing one day, but it may look entirely different on the next time, right? When I'm going through whatever I'm going through. And I made an inventory. I made a searching and fearless moral inventory, right? That was fucking hard, right? I tell my sponsees, I say, I don't really care about you stealing bubble gum, right? From the 5 and dime, right? I want to know what's really going to keep you from staying in this program, right? Tell me the big things that are weighing on your conscience, right? And that's what I did with my sponsor, right? I told him about the things that I did that I was not proud of, and that I was going to take to the grave with me, right? And that was my 5th step. My 6th step, is I have to be willing to accept my character defects, and as it states in the 12 and 12 and in the big book, those are the 7 deadly sins, right? My biggest deadly sin that I struggle with still today is lust, right? That is by far the biggest deadly sin that I struggle with. And it's just the truth, right? I had a fucked up upbringing, and that stuck with me for a long time, right? 7 are my shortcomings, right? My shortcomings are the things that lead me back to the deadly sins. Sloth, gluttony, anger, lust, right? All of those, they're called the pagels, or some people call them the pagels, right? If you don't know what they are, look them up in the book, right? But my shortcomings are the things that lead me to those things, right? Like, I'm tired. I don't have to go to a meeting today, right? Because I'm tired, right? My tiredness is my shortcoming, right? My sloth is not wanting to go to the meeting. right? And I justify being tired to get to my defective character. That's the way I interpret things, right? This is the way my brain spins shit around, right? So I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but this is me. You know, I also liken this, the seventh step to the keys of the car, right? The seventh is the keys, right? The car is the defect, right? When I put the key in the ignition and take off, I don't know where the fuck the car is going to end up, right? I could end up at a whorehouse, I could end up in Vegas, I could end up at the track, I could end up at a bar, I don't know, right? But I stick those keys in that ignition and all bets are off, right? So, you know, I made a list of the people that I had harmed, and I read through that list with my sponsor, right? And he said, okay, now we're going to go make some amends. And I said, oh, cool, you're coming with me. And he goes, no, that was just a figure of speech. You're going to do this. And some of those were easy, and some of those were difficult, and you know, every single one of them was worth it. Every single one of them was worth it, right? The 10th step is continue to take personal inventory when I'm wrong, promptly admit it, right? I told you that I married my hostage, right? So that 10th step comes in really handy in this relationship that I'm in with another human being, right? Because my brain tells me that I have a really good idea, and my brain tells me that I should say things to this other human being that aren't very kind and aren't very nice, right? And I also have a tendency to use that 10th step when I'm on the freeway too, and driving down the road, right? Because I see people going 15 or 20 miles an hour in the fast lane, and that just pisses me off, right? So at the end of the day, I have to remind myself, you're an asshole, right? Maybe you should just be patient for once, right? And not flip that guy off, or try and cut him off, or throw spark plugs at him, or whatever the fuck your choice of things to do is, right? But that's what the 10th step allows me to do. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God. I do that every morning. I get up every morning, and the first thing I do is I hit my knees. I get out of bed, I hit my knees, I pray for others, and then I say the 3rd step prayer, right? And then I get up and I run right to the bathroom and take a piss. And then I start the coffee, feed the dog, da-da-da-da-da, right? And that's how my day starts. And by the time the dog's taken a piss and gotten her couple of bones, I go back inside, and the coffee's still being brewed, and I sit down and I read the daily reflections, right? And I do that before my wife gets up, right? And that's my time. That's my time to communicate with my higher power, and to have some type of spiritual reading that will help me get through my day, right? And last but not least is the 12th step, right? Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, I try to carry this message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of my affairs, right? I try and practice these principles. I am not a saint, right? And there's an old guy named Deacon Jim, and he always says, yeah, right? Because it means we're practicing, right? We're practicing, and there's hope for us, right? That whenever, you know, he's an old Catholic guy, whenever I meet my maker, whatever that maker looks like, and hopefully it's not Mark, right? But when I meet my maker, right, he's going to say, come on in, instead of, reject, you go the other way, right? And I don't really believe that there is a this or a that, right? But I do believe that I have to atone for how I treat people. And if I don't treat people well, and if I don't treat people with kindness and respect, and try and carry these principles in all of my affairs, try and do these principles in all of my affairs, and be of service, right? When asked to come up and lead a meeting when I really didn't want to, right? But the secretary said, you got me into this, you're gonna get me out of it. And I said, okay, I'm happy to do this, right? That's what this program's all about. If nobody's told you today that they love you, better luck tomorrow. No, that's not true. If nobody's told you today that they love you, I love each and every one of you guys. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and have a safe New Year. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Brad.